Marvel movies are for kids, right? Well, based on the jump scares and scary imagery, Doctor Strange 2 is apparently for making kids cry. Here are all the things only adults noticed in the surprisingly frightening Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The one thing that was abundantly clear about America Chavez in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was that she had seen a lot. Having traveled across the multiverse, she had visited 72 universes before landing on Earth 616. However, there was one superhero she had failed to encounter or even know anything about during her adventures: Spider-Man. While most people might point out that it's because of Doctor Strange's spell at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, that's not an entirely correct assumption. Strange's spell made everyone forget that Peter Parker existed, not Spidey. Even Happy Hogan confirmed to Pete that he knew Aunt May through Spider-Man at her gravesite. Taking into account the 3 Spider-Men that appeared in No Way Home, plus all the others introduced in Into the Spider-Verse, what are the odds that America only visited universes without any spider-themed heroes or variants? No Miles Morales? No Miguel O'Hara? No Spider-Gwen? This is starting to smell a whole lot like a gigantic plot hole. Wanda Maximoff experienced a heartbreaking and life-changing moment when she removed the Mind Stone from Vision's head, which was a vital part of keeping him alive. Then, she had to suffer the pain and loss all over again, as Thanos reversed time and destroyed the android once more for good measure. These events can change someone, and in Wanda's case, they had a big effect, as we all saw in WandaVision. Her grieving process was, to say the least, ethically questionable.
If you won't let us go, just let us die.
While we cannot condone Wanda's actions or methods, her former teammates hardly made any effort to provide her comfort during her period of grief. Sure, everyone experienced their own losses after Thanos' snap and had a lot to deal with, but no one attempted to even be a shoulder to cry on for Wanda, even knowing that she'd lost her brother Pietro and then the love of her life. In all likelihood, Wanda might have pushed them away, but at least she would have known they cared about her. Ultimately, she was alone, and this led her to the Darkhold and the path of trying to create a family to deal with her trauma. With friends like the Avengers, who needs enemies, right?
And now, it's time for some good news.
Undoubtedly, one of the hottest cameos of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was the appearance of John Krasinski as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic of Earth 838. While social media might have spoiled the big reveal because film Twitter cannot contain itself with secrets, it was still an exciting moment as it announced the official arrival of the Fantastic Four in the MCU. The rest of Marvel's first family didn't show up, but it was more than enough to lay a solid foundation for the impending film. With the confirmation that the Fantastic Four exists within the multiverse, it leaves one major question here. Why didn't the Earth 616 version of the team try to stop Thanos with the Avengers? Yes, Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic was from a different universe, but there must be other versions of the Fantastic Four sprinkled throughout the multiverse. Are we meant to believe that Reed Richards, one of the world's greatest minds, didn't have anything to add and chose to stay at home in the Baxter Building while the rest of Earth's heroes battled Thanos' evil forces? They must have been busy with something interesting. Maybe we'll get some answers in the upcoming movie. Fox's X-Men series ended quietly with the release of The New Mutants, preceded by the purchase of 20th Century Fox by Disney. But long before that purchase, the canon of the X-Men movies had become hopelessly confusing. That timeline has undergone more revamps and reimaginings than Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Without a doubt, the MCU will try to remedy this situation with the Children of the Atom becoming a part of the greater Marvel Universe. And the first step was introducing the Earth 838 version of Patrick Stewart's Professor Charles Xavier in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. While Stewart's Professor X was from Fox's X-verse, there are a few hints that he may be the mutant from another popular incarnation of the X-Men. When Professor X appeared in the film, he glided onto the screen in the recognizable yellow hover chair from X-Men the Animated Series. Additionally, he wore a green top to match the character's design from the cartoon. However, the biggest aha moment was when a hint of the classic theme song from the animated show played in the background. Of course, this could be an homage or merely fan service for longtime supporters of the mutant superheroes, but wouldn't it be a novel idea if X-Men the Animated Series ends up being the backstory of the MCU's X-Men? With the animated show returning with the upcoming sequel series, X-Men 97 on Disney+, don't bet against it. The fact that the title of the film includes Multiverse of Madness is a good indication that not everything was meant to make sense here. However, there was one glaring issue that cannot be overlooked. Remember Spider-Man No Way Home and how it brought all the Peter Parkers together? While it was fun to hear MJ and Ned call Peter and for all of them to respond at the same time, it was evident that all three Peters looked different and were distinguishable from each other.
This is Peter Parker, Spider-Man, they're me's from other universes. They're here to help.
So why did the variants of Stephen Strange, Christine Palmer, and Wanda Maximoff all look the same in the multiverse? Apart from a different haircut or some slightly different attire, they all looked identical. It was easy to spot who they were, and the shared features made them instantly recognizable to people from other universes. Using this logic, all three of the Spider-Men should have looked like Tom Holland's version of the character. Naturally, this new logic could be the result of Doctor Strange's spells having adverse effects on the multiverse, but it still seemed peculiar how America Chavez, who had been traversing the universes for some time, didn't mention anything about it. In Earth 616, Iron Man sacrificed himself to end Thanos' reign of terror. In Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it was shown how the Illuminati also brought down the Mad Titan in their own universe. Connecting the dots, this points to one significant conclusion. There are multiple versions of Thanos throughout the multiverse, and they're all likely hungry for power.
Impossible.
As portals have been opened and people have zipped in and out of the different universes, what are the odds that another Thanos hasn't slipped through the cracks as well? His brother Eros, aka Star Fox, was introduced in the post-credits scene of Eternals. A powerful figure like him will need a formidable foe. And who is more formidable than his brother, the Mad Titan? A villain as big and monumental as Thanos doesn't just go away quietly after one rumble. It's not outside the realm of possibility that some version of him may be laying low and licking his wounds as he plots his revenge on Earth's mightiest heroes and prepares to strike once again. Previous MCU films have made it clear that Wanda Maximoff is a powerful character. You may recall that she appeared capable of defeating Thanos almost single-handedly. However, as the Scarlet Witch in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, she showed off just how OP, or overpowered if that's not clear, she really was. Not only did she wipe out Captain Carter, Captain Marvel, Reed Richards, and Black Bolt on her own, but she also wiped out the army of Kamar-Taj without breaking a sweat. Forget about great power and great responsibility, because when someone holds the potential to get into people's heads and snap them like they're twigs, it's best to put pride aside and call in the heavy guns for help. For some reason, though, Doctor Strange didn't do that. He knew that Scarlet Witch was heading to Kamar-Taj to collect America Chavez, and she had already told him her demands beforehand. Yet, instead of phoning up the Avengers and asking for some superpowered backup, he decided to rely on magic students as the front line of defense. Perhaps Strange underestimated his former colleague, but he could have at least called up Jimmy Woo and Darcy Lewis to find out how much damage the Scarlet Witch had caused in Westview. Maybe then he wouldn't have been so reluctant to seek out major assistance in the first place. When Doctor Strange tried to reason with Scarlet Witch about the severe consequences of messing with the multiverse, she turned to the tables and pointed out how it was deemed acceptable when he did the same.
You break the rules and become a hero. I do it and I become the enemy.
She says it's not fair, and she's not wrong. While there was an element of whataboutism in her response, she raised a valid point about Strange's double standards. In Spider-Man No Way Home, Wong warned him about what would happen, but Strange didn't heed his warnings. Instead, he opened the world to possible new threats because of a request from Spider-Man. While it was undoubtedly sad that Spidey's true identity was exposed to the world, Strange was prepared to risk the safety of the entire universe to reverse a single event. Surely there were other solutions here, even if it meant that Peter Parker would have to hide out for a period of time until they figured it out. Yet, the first port of call here was magic, the kind that creates seismic rifts in the universe. While Scarlet Witch wasn't right in wanting to sacrifice a person for her own delusion of personal happiness, neither was Strange, who was prepared to risk an entire world for one person. From what we have seen in the MCU, Doctor Strange has never been what one would call a people person. He can come across as prickly, condescending, and sometimes even cruel.
This isn't the end. There are other things that can give your life meaning.
Like what? Like you?
However, he displayed a lot of initial disrespect to Wong in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. When approaching the Sorcerer Supreme, there were certain formalities that needed to be adhered to, such as bowing before him. For Strange, he didn't do this for the better part of the film, only doing so in the end. It was surprising to see Strange behave in this way, since Wong had not only been a friend, but also the person who assisted him in studying the mystic arts. He had a wealth of knowledge and even knew important concepts about the multiverse that Strange had no idea about. Much like Spider-Man No Way Home, Strange didn't listen to Wong when he really should have. Hopefully, his change in demeanor at the end of Multiverse of Madness signified that he would be taking Wong and his position as the Sorcerer Supreme much more seriously in the future.
Oh, it's funny.
Out of all the characters from the previous Marvel films and TV shows, who would have put money on an Inhuman showing up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Lest we forget, the Inhumans TV show holds an 11% critical approval rating and a 44% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. After all the ridicule and bad press, one would imagine that Kevin Feige would have sent the Inhumans into the darkest part of the multiverse, never to be seen again. Yet, Anson Mount returned as Black Bolt in Sam Raimi's film. This time, however, he was kitted out in a comic book-accurate outfit and portrayed as more of an Omega-level threat than what was seen in the series. Like his comic book counterpart, no one wanted him to speak a word, knowing that a single whisper could decimate anyone around him. Equally important here, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness proved that there could be life and a future for the Inhumans in the MCU. Not that team, necessarily, but the Inhumans in general. They might have had a rough time on the ABC show, but they could still play an important part in Marvel movies going forward. Maybe Mount may return as Black Bolt for a third time, ensuring that Vin Diesel's long-standing dream of playing the silent superhero never happens. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies and TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.